Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I am, of course, so glad that you can keep our appointment. Now, I know you all are waiting for tonight's guest. He really, absolutely needs no introduction. He's been here more times now than I can count, and you find him on the internet on a regular basis, dropping jewels and nuggets that we are all waiting for the next jewel to be dropped.
Yeah,
I'm talking about none other than our brother, Chief Rod Hayes. Tonight, we're just going to have a conversation and Q&A, which we've entitled, It's a Wrap. And I said this about him before, love him or hate him, believe him or not, Rod Hayes is a consistent force to be reckoned with and a bona fide champion of the people in these uncertain times. I want to welcome back to Office Hours with Dr. G, my friend and brother and our teacher, our record keeper and mind liberator, none other than Rod Hayes. Welcome, Rod. How are ya? We just gonna rock out. We can just rock out a little bit. Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
I think we got one more bar. Dr. G. Come on, y'all, groove with us.
Really?
Shout out to Brother Hassan for creating my theme song. All right, y'all. We are live in the buildings and all over the world, wherever you are. We send you our greetings. Thank you for tuning in. Some of you probably say, Dr. G, where you been? I kind of moved to Rod to doing maybe twice a month instead of every week. And then I got sick. I was sick for a whole week, y'all. Some of y'all knew that and some of you didn't. So, but I'm going to try to get back on a better schedule and was, getting back on track with none other than you, Brother Rod. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, Dr. G, pretty well. So, you named this, it's a wrap. So they need to know what we wrapped up.
Yeah,
so,
we certainly do.
For some of them that's aware, I posted a clip from Grand Sheik Taj Tariq Bey telling them, giving the public information out that the corporate government is closed. There is no United States. There has not been a United States since it was usurped. The usurpers have been overthrown by the indigenous peoples of the land, which is us, right? So he came and he gave the public notice so that the people can be aware that the system is over. Now, I was going over something with Sister Kia Pruitt, trying to explain to her why the mayor of her town wasn't responding to her, right? And what I was explaining to her is they have no functional government. AI is running the show right now. Artificial intelligence and programmed computers is running your television programming, radio programming, and half of your internet releases are all being done by AI, artificial intelligence. They are doing things to disrupt us, but all we needed, and for people remember that's been watching me, we needed one city to activate the continuity of government FEMA relief protocols and begin to release the funds that FEMA had already secured in order to bring relief to the people from housing situations, debt situations. None of the debt is ours. They was incurring the debt and they was using our pseudonyms, our false names that they gave us as straw men. And they was incurring debts by means of fraud, which nullifies all contracts. right? So when me and Grand Sheik was on here talking, he was explaining, and me and him was going over this with the people that if you have to know how to proceed in law and follow the tribal laws in order to overthrow their system. First, we had to cancel the contracts with a valid claim, which was the non-performance and the constructed fraud. And automatically, all of their treaties they never honored is the non-performance. And the constructed fraud is the fact that they were depleting the people of resources while they never told the people the resources was theirs to access if they reestablished the tribal structures. We didn't know. And they exploited us for our ignorance. So it say, then surely my children shall suffer from the lack of knowledge. Right? So we coming now, we have to tell them, hey, look, this United States fiasco is over. Right? Senate and Congress just took 7-week vacation. It's not unheard of. They took a 7-week vacation, and there's a housing bill that was put before them. There was also a bill put before them to eliminate the IRS and taxing you at your income. That was always illegal constitutionally, but we was never under the Constitution and truth. They held the Constitution up, but they was running behind the scenes using a different set of protocols and laws and ordinances that had nothing to do with us. Because they had nothing to do with us, none of us even thought that it needed to be investigated because we didn't know what was going on. So now we canceled the contracts that came to an end July the 4th, 2019. July the 6th, I exercised the blood right to the land to restore the organic people back to the ownership of the land, right? So a lot of people might be thinking of saying I did this for me. I didn't do it for me because it would never work. But I can do it on behalf of all of us. I can use my blood ties to the land to reclaim the land on behalf of all of us. But we have to learn, remember, Noble Drew Ali said, I'm going to leave these people in power long enough for y'all to learn how to run the government, right? That's one of the most infamous quotes of Noble Drew Ali, right? So we know how to run the government now, but we don't know we need to take charge and reform governments at the city level. The cities were our villages.
Let me ask you something, Rod. In the past, I'm learning that we were in many instances at one point running what we would call government today.
We were.
The question I have is what happened? It almost seemed like we went backwards. So what happened to shift the power?
Okay, so first we know the American Revolution, right? Revolutionary War, the Boston Tea Party, all of the stuff they told us. George Washington in the founding of the Constitution in 1864, right? We familiar with all of that, right? Mm-hmm. What they're not telling you is that the corporation was set up like the Halliburton was in Afghanistan. Now, if you go back to the Iraqi war, because this is our most recent frame of reference, where the cookie cutter cut the same cookie, just in a different part of the world. So let's say Halliburton, who was Dick Cheney's company, who sat on the board of, who got all of the contracts to rebuild Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, while they got these contracts to rebuild the land for the people, they just took over. That's what happened to us. So because we thought they were legitimate, right? Most people don't know all police charters tie into the United Nations as a UN peacekeeping force. I mean, we occupied by a foreign entity and we didn't know it. That's why the police violence don't get the proper reception and it continues to perpetuate. And they use it because it's a sore spot for our people. They know that if the police violence is put on display, we're going to react from years of the police violence inflicted upon us. They trying to make us react now because they don't want us to know that their corporate game is all over and done with, right? So we needed one city to institute tribal jurisdiction in one city. And now, I don't know if the city people are aware of it because you have to set up a new city council. But they seize the city on the behalf of the matriarchy, make a public notice, and then they activate FEMA. The first city so far to do it is a town of Sun Village in California. Sun Village, it was reported on January the 27th that it was the first Black tribal township in North America, which we know is a fallacy. But they put the notice out into the public domain so I could tell the people we got one city. Now we only got a couple hundred cities left to go, right? But one city is enough to activate everything. If the city council know to activate FEMA, that brings the national debt becomes the national debit for the rebuilding of the infrastructure and for the relief of the people, right? And they can dispense the national debit in any form that the council, the government that's gonna be established, they can send it out in weekly checks.
What does
Inflation is going to be froze.
Yeah, but what does that say to the fact that we're hearing that? So the fiat currency is has lost its value and has no trading value internationally. So what will be the form of trade?
All currencies around the world now are secured by the old gold standard. The gold standard is the return standard for the backing of the wealth because we use the gold in intergalactic travel, right? So the gold is being traded intergalactically from Earth to other places, so we can use that as a viable source of solidified income, a base for wealth, right? So now we going from a system. We going from the system of we going from the system of fiat. Fiat was a debt-based demand system to demand on payment a legal tender, but none of the tender had been legal.
Okay.
All right. So now when you restore the gold standard, you have silver certificates and gold certificates to be put into circulation in the place of greenback notes. Right. And people receive cards that have massive amounts of debit on them already. Right. So we have our wealth, we have access to it, but our people still don't understand what's taking place in real time. So they not mobilizing to reclaim the land. They sitting around waiting on somebody to even inform them that we received the title deed of the land that was already predicated upon the fraud. We seized it using the birthright of the matriarchs. We seized all of their assets for fraud. And now the assets become the property of the collected tribes. All of their asset is restructured under the new tribal government, and this is what we have to start at the grassroots level to rebuild government. So I was thinking to have you, Dr. G, have Grand Sheik explain how local government, that's the only one where you can really exercise power, local government. Because once you start getting to people that need electorates and delegates, you lost your power because those people work for the highest bidder. They call them lobbyists, right? So you sending people to DC, and they all working for somebody that owns a corporation somewhere or a bank. They're not working for us. So we have to restructure government. This is what we froze on right now. People don't understand there is no active government. It's only AI through a series of computer edits that's telling them what's that's running the stage show that they see as they updates and reports.
There's a question out here I want to, before we get too far in, it says, I'm just going to pop it up here. And it says to ask you, how did you cancel the contract or treaty? That I thought Farrakhan canceled the contract.
The public notice, I put it up on Facebook. I did it July the 6th, 2019. Nobody else put it in the public domain to exercise the blood and the right to cancel out the fraudulent contracts for non-performance and fraud. So when I seen nobody didn't do it, I had 72 hours to respond. I waited 48 hours. Then I put it in the public domain because we are oral tradition. We have to follow the law of the land, right? Farrakhan had to approve for me to even be able to do that because Mother Khadijah is the highest ranked matriarch of the tribes, right? So I had to go through them to say, okay, it's okay for you to close out their contracts as one of the chiefs on the land. So it's a combination of both things. It's really not just me. It's the collective decision of a group of chiefs all across the land, including Angel Bay, including Larry Hoover, including Imam Abu Jamal Alameen, including Mumia Shakur, including Asada Shakur, including Afeni Shakur. There's hundreds of us that had to approve before I could close the contracts. And they was all tired of the same thing the rest of us is tired of.
Okay, so was there a response at all? Did something happen somewhere to signal that we saw that and we realized that you've done that? And
yeah, Donald J. Trump. He gave the messages and speeches while he was in office actively in the open. He told us the whole story, but we all listened to the media say that Trump was crazy and he didn't know what he was talking about. But Trump was doing the same thing that they used to make us do to get messages to each other. He was buck dancing for the man. Right? But while he buck dancing, he flipping us all of the sands. Right? So the laws are all of these executive orders and the things that's been activated. The people just don't know that they activated, but it's been put on in public domain for us to find it. They're not going to tell us, hey, you got your power back. We have to be, power is a funny thing. If you don't take your power, you don't have your power. And we not in power until we in power. The collective grassroots have to be aware. That's what my job is at this time, is to give the information to the grassroots, right? Grand Sheik gave the laws all of the data you need to look up to determine what we're talking about and its accuracy. I've been posting this stuff as it's been happening in real time, but the problem is we don't pay very good attention to the short game and we don't even know it's a long game. So I'm fighting a protracted struggle with a bunch of other people from across the land for somebody who doesn't know we fighting for them. Right? So they say, well, how they come over here and just take over? They didn't. We never stopped fighting. We not the ones who signed those treaties. They put $5 Indians, dolls, roll participants up and sent them to Indian school to teach them our culture so they can mimic us. Rome fought wars with Huns, Mongolians, and Vedics. And that's who they took as servants. All you got to do is go back and look. And and in the history books, it say when they left Europe, they took their servants with them.
Right.
So this is where they came from. That's how come they can tell you we Mongolian. They know they Mongolians. Right? They know they Genghis Khan's children and Attila the Hun's children. They know this. The ones that found out that they was being used as a dupe took sides with us.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones who was trying to be obedient to authority took sides with their slave master. You can tell the difference in them today because the ones who took sides with the slave master hope these nappy head shut up. Stop telling them who you is. Because it's undeniable that once y'all know who y'all is, that y'all back for everything they owe. All of it. And it's there. And I'm trying to get us to focus and pay attention so we can seize it. Right? So this is where we at. We looking for Haiti, right? Because Haiti is what's going to tell the story. That's the first place they landed in Hispaniola. That's where they conjure first started, and that's how we beat them in the final war to conjure. We tracked them back by reverse engineering what they did back to Haiti. Once we liberate Haiti and put it back in the tribes of the island, Haiti and Dominica, which also all of the other islands are already taking their governments back. The tribes know what's going on and they taking government back, but we ain't paying none of this no attention over here on the mainland. We thinking everything is business as usual when it's not.
I mean, it took me a while to come to the realization, but as I began to study what was obviously happening in other, what we would call foreign countries, like you talked about Iraq, Iran, and the different places. You gave Halliburton coming in and doing the rebuild as an example. And it took me a while to realize that that's exactly what happened here, except we are programmed to look at what's happening out there to them, not realizing that we're in the exact same situation, of colonization. I mean, we'll say, oh, colonizers and all that, but not only are they colonizers, but we're colonized and under their control, or we have been maybe up until this point, and we didn't even realize it. Now, I'm pretty sure, these other people realized those folks came over and decimated their land, took their, their natural and human resources and did all kinds of horrible stuff. But we didn't see that as happening here when in fact it has actually happened and been happening here for the last, several hundred years.
Yeah, we've been in a protracted struggle, right? They do a mimic parade down in Florida with boats that's mimicking the assaults of the Spanish Armada. Right? It's a water parade. And this was the stronghold of the conflict for the Spanish versus the Gullahs. All of the tribes sent somebody to fight in the Gullah Wars because the Gullah Geechee sent the distress signal clean across the land. So we all came as far away as the island of Tongas and Samoas. As far away as Hawaii, the Califias, everybody sent. So that's why the land was declared part of the crash site in the Louisiana Purchase, because we had left the castles. We don't send our people to fight and don't go with them. None of the chiefs do that. Right? So we was taking our family to the battlefield. This is how we all got so concentrated in the South and the Southeast. Then what they was calling the Great Migration, they said we was going to the north and to the west for industrialization in search of employment. That's not true. We was going back home. That's what we was doing. We was figuring out where we was from, and we was going back home. The land talked to us and tell us you need to be over here. The land talked to us. Mama talked to us. Mother Earth talked to us through frequency, tones, and vibrations of the vibrational frequency they call Schumann resonance, which is about to return back to the Schumann-Tefnet resonance, which is the appropriate resonant frequency of the Earth. And that's going to be Atlas Shrugged. That's when she shake the parasites. Right? So it's not a secret that I talked about sudden adult death syndrome 2 years ago when it wasn't even happening. But I'm telling you what's going to happen. I'm not even a prophet. The reason why I can tell you is because I know what the side effects of the earth changeover is from historical records of what happened before. They can cover it up and blame it on anything they want to. But it's varying different reasons why these people is suddenly just dropping like flies. Right? But they also notice that certain animals is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? They're not paying that no attention. Those are hybrids created by man that won't be able to upgrade with the fifth dimensional frequency in the age of Aquarius. And they drop out the sky by the 1,000. And don't nobody know why they falling out the sky. Anything that man made that can't upgrade to the frequency is gonna die. It has to happen that way because that's the natural defense mechanism of the planet. Now they can steer the story however they want to tell it, but it's already recorded in the annals of history that this happens every 3,600 years when the Earth's magnetic poles reverse position. It's already on record. The ancients wrote about it. They told it in legends and fairy tales. We see it coming back as movies and music.
Yeah.
They put it in songs now, and they telling the whole story, but we don't know what they talking about because it just sounded like it, and I was a good actor in the show. I was entertained. Right? But it's over. This whole system, the IRS, the Federal Reserve, all of it's gone. Right? All these police stations is going to start closing down. They already started because there is no funds. The funds is just tapering off, and the ones who had the most funds on reserve is the ones that's going to hold out the longest before they have to close their police stations. We as men have to be prepared to secure our communities, because if not, we gonna turn into Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, because we ain't doing what we supposed to. We can make it into a peaceful and cushiony transition of opulence and wealth, and we can have Mardi Gras from coast to coast. We stand up and secure our communities, which that's why you got at the city level. Local government is most people to control the whole country.
You're breaking up. Your audio is breaking up, Rod, real bad. Let's see. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, you were very yeah, you're real broken up. I don't know what you just said, but let's see if I can hear you now.
You want me to try to log out and log back in?
Yeah, do that, please. Y'all give us a moment. Thank you so much. Yeah, but in the meantime, it's good to see so many of you here on a Tuesday night. Maybe I'll come on more often if more of y'all would log on. I'm going to be back next Tuesday. I'm going to be back next Tuesday. And Grand Sheik is going to be on this coming Friday. Yeah, he'll be back this Friday. And we'll be back the following Friday. I'm just going to give a PSA while waiting for Rod to come on. Wait a minute. We're going to be celebrating Grand Sheik's 77th on the 11th. Here he is. Okay, Rod, let's see if we can hear you now.
That sound better now?
There you go. All righty. I just did a commercial while you were gone. So yeah, so whatever you were saying prior to me trying to, you coming out, going out, if you remember and you want to go back to, but when people are skeptical, understandably, because what we see happening now seems to be business as usual. It appears to be, and I know what you said at the outset. You said, we're looking at CGI, AI, old films, and all kinds of other stuff. And we probably, was it around 2010 or 9 or something? Whenever the movie The Truman Show, 2009, whenever that came out, it was like a signal to me that they were telling us, what you see is not what it is. It's only a movie. They because they always put stuff in the movie. And then when you think back of all the types of, movies that have been shown, like say over the last 10 years, or let's say since 2012, when everything was supposed to have started to shift on a grander scale for a lot of folks. The movies are seeming to, now when you look back at them, they were telling a tale. And I'm not sure if it's a tale going forward or if it's a tale backwards, but it's still something that we have overlooked as reality and just simply looked at as maybe being, it's a movie. But like Grand Sheik always says, they have to tell the truth, even if they don't tell you that they're telling the truth, because they need to, slough the karma off. They try to break that karmic,
right.
cycle.
So the way that works is they innocent by your consent.
Okay.
It's the same as like if a girl consents to sex, it's not rape. Right? So if she's not in a position to consent because she's incapacitated, it's rape, but she can't call rape because she didn't know what happened.
Okay.
Right? So that's where we at. We was the ones getting raped, but we ain't know we was getting raped. They was taking they was levying our wealth, and they was living off of it like it was a slush fund. Mm-hmm. But it's still there. They said that they stole our land, but every time I look out the window, our land is still there.
Right.
I done went all over in this. I still see Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, North, South Carolina. I still see the land. Everywhere I go, it's still here. So if they stole it, where they concealed it at? It's just the appearance of legitimacy with their paperwork and the compliance with the appearance of legitimacy that kept us trapped. They was passing the kangaroo courts off as real courts, but they weren't. The only true courts on the land are called tribal consular courts.
Or will those be the Article 3 courts that they talk about?
No, because the Constitution has never been in effect. It's never really been in effect. They've been using the Constitution as, look, we following the Constitution, but they've never followed it. They never set up Article 3. All of these courts that we are attending are called adjunct courts.
Adjunct courts, okay.
Right. And they operate under admiralty jurisdiction. They don't operate under tribal code. They don't operate from the tribal laws of the land. They operate from the trade laws of the Uniform Commercial Code at sea. That's what nationality is all about. Because now you have to you have to be tied to a ship in order to be part of the bounty when they dividing up the goods. Your nationhood is establishing which ship you belong to. So you're trying to see where you fit in, and so that you could be taken care of by the captain of the ship. But the captain don't have no intentions on doing anything for you, whether you earned it or not. He wants you to do everything to help him run the ship. But if you find out that you ain't got nothing coming, then he want to do away with you because he don't want you infecting the rest of the masses of the ignorant that don't know no better. Because once y'all start figuring it out and putting the pieces together, then you can decline to consent to the adhesion contract. Right? We
What
don't we
explain
don't need
an adhesion contract is, because I know adhesion sounds to me something attached to something else.
it is. The adhesion contracts are those contracts like driver's license is an adhesion contract under they usurping a right. First of all, the right to traverse the land, freedom of locomotion is covered under the Constitution. That's how you know it's not in effect.
Mhm.
Because they usurping it. The right to bear arms as an amendment is not there to go hunting or to go skeet shooting. It's there for when the government go rogue, you can blast them in their ass. But if you don't have no sense of wherewithal of why is the right to bear arms, you won't know your sworn enemy is trying to take away your right to bear arms. But the ones who know what it's all about is the ones that join the NRA, and they join all of these what they call extremist militia groups, because they know that the constitutional Second Amendment is not there for you to go rabbit hunting. It specifically say that you have the right to form a well-formed militia and overthrow the government when it go rogue. It went rogue a long time ago. It went rogue a long time ago, but nobody pulled rank. None of the chiefs pulled rank. That's why the civics that I was studying from Taj, because it shows you the structure of law and how they applying it, that you can now know how to get out of it. They swearing up and down we imbeciles in law, and we proving them right by participating in their system. Divorce yourself from the system.
People are still, trying to figure out how to nationalize or, get out of, like you just said, to get out of the system. I know because I get calls every day about that. I don't even know what to tell them. You know what I mean?
Look, a nationalization is getting your cars title stamped. That's all it is. You just stamping yourself as who's your slave master. All of the nations is corporations.
Okay.
That's the first thing we didn't know. All of the nations are corporations. And that's how we know that they de facto. Because the true de jure is a government composed of the people from the land, on the land, that's monitoring the land. They get mad at the gangs for doing it, but they not understanding that's what they was birthed for. That's why they clicked up like that in those tribes. Right? But you don't know they tribing up because the enemy told you they was the enemy.
Well, who are you calling the gangs?
The Vice Lords, the Gangster Disciples, the Crips, the Bloods, those are tribes.
Right, okay, all right.
But the government branded them and used propaganda to convince you that they didn't have no place on the land. They got every right to be on the land in a tribe. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, we can't stop the killing because the same people that branded them gangs is dressing up like them, attacking each other. So this is what we didn't know. We didn't know that was part of COINTELPRO to actively dress up like a gang and go shoot somebody or dress up like the rival tribe. That's how they kept us fighting. We found that out in the Rodney King riots in LA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the police was dressing up like Bloods trying to start the war back up, shooting at the Crips. It just so happened that when they did one of their drive-bys, the Blood set they called out was at the Crip backyard party, and they told the Crips, don't worry about it, we got them. And when they got done, pulled them out the cars with their bullet holes in them, they found out it was 2 of them that was gang task force and 3 of them was FBI agents. But they was dressed like gangbangers. So we figured that out back then. Now we know what they doing to us. That's why Tupac say, they tell me it's the white man I should fear, but it's my own kind doing all the killing here. He telling you right there what's going on in the community. But we don't know that the musicians, we can use that as what you call a soft attack. You can tell the truth in the song, and the other people on the land know what you're talking about because they experiencing the same thing. And when you weave the common denominators together, you see it happening everywhere you go. Right? So when we look at Chicago, it was over 400 names on the COINTELPRO neutralization list. And almost all 400 of them now is either dead or locked up. Only a handful of them made it out of their system of destruction to prevent the rise of any potential messiah who could incite the masses. Right? So now you got all these different things are transpiring in real time, and we don't know how to read the signs. When they telling us what they doing to us, we take it as a joke because they put it in satire and comedy. Right? That's why they say a lot of truth is said in jest. Right? They jesting. Who's the jester? The Joker. Right? The Joker is the buck dancing on the stage. Right? He's entertaining the king, but he's the only one that can tell the king the truth because he always tell it in a joke. So instead of the king getting offended, he hit him in the funny bone. Right? And if he hit him just right in the funny bone, he make his whole arm go numb. So he can't chop him upside his head with his sword. It's all strategic. When you understand how these people have been playing us, then this is how you understand how we have to go back to our own system, our oral traditions, put it in the public domain, and eliminate the contracts. We already did it, but the people don't know what it means, and they don't know how to proceed forward with restructuring government. So before Big Mama put me on the bench a couple weeks ago, the last 5 or 6 different videos was activist instructions. How do you organize the community? What do you do?
And that's what people are asking. And that's what people are saying. How? There's some of the comments in the comments. What is it that we need to be doing? I know one of the things is with the women, but what do we need to be doing to if you will, to like you said, to get this activated, to mobilize, that's the word, to mobilize ourselves on a grand scale, because you can have these little small, like you mentioned, California, the town in California. This is the first time I ever heard that. I don't know if anybody else had heard it. It may be something that they brought it to your attention, but the masses probably don't know that, and don't know that it can be done, and can be done without. I think a lot of times people have a fear of a backlash or the loss of some right or privilege or something that they, is this going to happen if I speak up and say I know who I am and we know who we are? So how do we on a larger scale, because there's over 1,200, almost 1,300 people listening right now, and not to mention who's going to see this afterwards. So please tell us what steps we should start with to begin.
Okay, so you have to start organizing. Local government. It's the only place you're effective. The goal is you want to seize the city charter, because the city charter is the fraudulent deed that you have to surrender to FEMA to access the resources to rebuild the government. It's a state of emergency when the people have to reclaim their government from a corporate entity. FEMA have the financial resources, and you try to keep everything in town as possible. All of your contracts, you try to keep somebody in the township with the contract to do the roads, with the contract to run the educational system. We have to get away from the way they run in the educational system, because they're training camps for slaves and workers.
Right.
They not educating us to be free. So we had to restructure education. Locally, we need every town have a town map, and the town map serves as your town grid. You can look up your alderman or your city council members' jurisdictions. Use that as the template to form the new city council. Any one of the organic sisters that's willing to put in the work can organize a new city council using that grid. By you have to mobilize people in each grid to get a representative from that area. You have to rebuild a whole city council. Use the format they was using, but once you raise the new city council, matriarchy is predicated upon the most competent person is the leader of the position at the time. So when you put it back together, you can use anybody that's competent at any position as the assistants to the new city council to train them in the area. In other words, when you go to get the key to the city in the city charter, it's symbolic of getting the key to Big Mama house and getting the deed returned back to Big Mama. You have to set up your own city council. And then the city council members from one of them will pick up the person that's the spokesperson, and that becomes the mayor. The mayor is a matriarchal position, and that's why it's called the mayor. That's Big Mama of the town is the mayor.
In this town, for instance, because I worked in city government for 27 years. So I was an appointee and I was a department head. So every office, such as the ones you mentioned, council, treasurer, who else? Of course, the mayor, and those are elected positions. So all the council members and the mayor, and I think it's probably like the city treasurer, something like that. Those are elected. So when you're going in, and maybe others where they are, those are elected positions. So when you say you go and create a new council or a new set of aldermen, and ours is council.
That's because the old system failed. The old system not there. So you have to replace it.
So I get that, that's what you're saying. But are you saying while their de facto one is still propped up like it's working, you create another city council and then take it and to say the next their court council meeting and say y'all are out?
Okay, so now once you get a mayor, once you get to the point where you have the spokesperson for the new city council, you have to exercise the tribal right to relieve the interim government. And you put the current person that's sitting in the position of the mayor on notice once the new city, because all of it is coming from the town. Every town got a right at any time to overthrow a rogue government. Every town got that right. Every state has that right, and the government as a whole has the right, because this is how you protect yourself from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Right? So you have to have an organic city government raised from that city. Half these city councilmen don't even live in the cities they represent. They live in the city next to it or two cities over. Right? That's not how it's supposed to work, because they don't know the immediate needs of the city they don't live in. Right? So you have to use exactly mirror them. That's what they did when they stole everything. They stole these prominent positions by deceiving us. We don't have to deceive them. We just exercise the tribal right. The matriarchs of the land have an absolute right that if the government on the land is hostile to the next 7 generations of children, to insert the matriarchy. Y'all got that right. That's an absolute right on earth. It's the first right of the earth right, which is the women inherit the earth. And y'all have that right to formulate a matriarchal system. and to reclaim it using tribal tradition and putting them on public notice, and then you hold your press conference. Because once you got the charter, now you done relieve them of their de facto capacity, because you now the juror. You the ones who, this is your city. And whoever the big mama of the city is actually the default mayor. That's why they always be kissing the old lady's behinds that sit at the front of the big church. Make sure she happy. So she don't never ask no questions is where her shit at. Long as you don't know, you won't ask no questions. Soon as you know you've been usurped, you want your stuff back. But it requires the effort. It requires the networking. A lot of women don't want to work with other women. That's going to be the biggest obstacle to raising the matriarchy. But that's because they were taught that by patriarchal-minded feminists. Right? That's just keep us divided more and more and more.
Yeah, well, we got about 260 sisters so far that have signed up for.
Mm-hmm. I've been sending them to you too when they be asking me what women are doing stuff. I tell them about war.
Yeah. So what I was
I
hoping
tell them about war. Yeah.
Right. I was hoping that the website, our website designer, and shout out to her, was given has a big position that she's doing for the Grammys, and so after the 5th, we'll be able to get that up in February, and we wanted them to, so they can go right there to the link, and we're gonna have our first meeting, because we have the platform, and people are asking about how to get on that new platform that we have. We call it Unfiltered, and our biggest problem has been how to let people know where the link is without, say, using YouTube or Facebook to do that. But soon as the website House of Reawakening Minds, I think it is .tv, when it's up, they'll be able to go right to the website for the links for all of our stuff, whether it's going to be on YouTube or just straight on our on our platform without going on YouTube, which will let us have up to 10,000 viewers on the live. So yes, it's coming. Keep sending them, and everybody's name and email address and everything is being cataloged. Some of the sisters I'm finding out, and I know we digressed it a little bit, but some of these sisters are so powerful that have signed up. I mean, we got folks in media, writers, authors, and movie producers and all that have signed up. And I don't know what, people that are sisters that are holistic, sisters that are doulas, sisters that do we just need to find out what it is we bring into the table, so that we know what we have. And then where are we? And that's the thing. And then what can we do as a secondary plan? Say if this goes down, if there is no YouTube access or there's no Facebook, how do we stay in contact? Stay connected. And how do we still do the work that needs to be done on a collective basis? So like I said, right now it's about 260 sisters, and you all know who you are, who have signed up so far. But yeah, we're looking for that, and even more for meetings that we can, so that we can say exactly what we want to say, how we want to say it. And there's another thing I wanted to say to you, Rod. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, and and folks probably have their various opinions. But when Grand Sheik and I were talking, maybe even the other day, we were talking about the fact, and I keep bringing up to him, I said, we keep thinking that it's just a Moorish thing, Moorish America or melanated folks or whatever you want to call us. But when you think in terms of the fraud and the whole system that we've been, indoctrinated in, it's not just us that have been lied to. It's not just us that are being affected by this rogue government. So we have to find ways to bridge the gap. And I think Brother Ross, he's on here, Ross Jabe, I know he and I talked about it. We need to find a way to bridge the gap to the other, nationalities that are being affected by the same thing, because we surely can't do it alone. They need to know that they're just as much a victim, I believe, as we, the people of the land. We're not the only ones that have been lied to. We're not the only ones who've been stolen from and whatever. Even though it seems like some of them have gotten an unfair advantage, at the end of the day, they're not up in that elite 1% or whoever they call themselves. The powers that were. I like what Shabi Zane calls them, Sister Shabi, the powers that were. If we're not up in that, then you're being used and abused in some kind of way. So there has to be a way. Like when you're talking about taking over the city, well, we're not the only ones in the city. So we need the alliance of like-minded folks, regardless of where they come from, who say, oh, shit, I didn't know that this was happening.
Okay.
And I want to be free too. How can you do it? We can't do it by ourselves.
Well, we actually got the birthright to do it by ourselves.
I mean, we
But
may
hold on. We got the birthright, and we have the players with the birthright ready to do it by ourselves. We have to be ready to do it by ourselves in case don't nobody want to help us. So we had to cover that ready to do it by ourselves base first.
Okay. But
okay, now
where do they stand at? Will they become subjects?
No, ain't no big eyes and no little U's in Big Mama house.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay, now, as far as other ethnic groups, we have more support than we willing to accept because of the trauma of history. Okay. You got more people who call themselves Ashkenazi, a Sephardi, or one of these Zionist Jews in Israel. You got more of them willing to support us than you got that's against us, but we don't know this because we don't have those cross-cultural conversations with people that also have similar agendas to their people and allegiances to their people that's same as ours.
Right.
Remember, Garvey told us a long time ago we had to formulate a confraternity, a global confraternity. You can't formulate a global confraternity without having tribes that don't look like us. Mm-hmm. We got tribes all over the world in every color skin suit backing our moves. But they can't move if we don't move. Right? So that's like, it's our house. We standing outside with the keys in our hand, everybody waiting on us to open the door so they can go in and help us evict everybody that don't belong in the house. But we standing there just looking at the house with the keys in our hand. They can't do nothing if we don't open the door. But you have Asians that came over here specifically to help us in the fight. We made alliances and allegiances in the 1800s, hitting railroad irons and tacking down railroad irons across the Southwest to the rest of the country. We don't know about this because it's a shadow of history. We know that Big John was nailed and hammered, but we didn't know he was standing next to Wang Lee.
No.
But they were, and they was making allegiances way back then to give us the support when we needed it and we called for it. We was in the whole Mexican culture is our culture, and we too naive to accept and acknowledge that there's nobody from Mexico that can cross the border in the Southwest and be an illegal alien.
True.
All that was annexed from Mexico. Now you want to tell them they can't move to the part of the land Big Mama tell them to move to. That don't make sense to me.
As an American, when we look at America, and Sister and I were talking, Sister Shafe and I were talking about this a couple of days ago, America, we always know, like from the top of where we say Canada, that area, all the way down to the end of South America and the adjoining islands is considered America. So whether it's north, south, central, it's America. So wherever it seems that you would come into whatever area of America, you're still an American. And I remember, and I pulled it up when I was growing up. I don't know if you remember the song, if you're old enough to remember the song we sang in school called "This Is My Country." And I was talking with a sister, and the thing of it is that we sang this. We just sing this like every like in like assembly, right?
Yeah,
And the
this
word,
land is your
no,
land.
not that one. This one says, this is my country, something like that. But if the words are, this is my country, land of my birth. This is my country, grandest on earth. I pledge thee my allegiance, America the bold. For this is my country to have and hold. Didn't say anything about United States of America. It was America, and it was where I was, the land of my birth. They stopped somewhere along the line. That song I think was written in 1940. When I got to school, it was still being sung as a regular thing, and then people probably 40 years and younger don't even, or maybe even 50 years, and may not know of that. But we were singing songs that said America, just America. We didn't talk about the United States. And as a matter of fact, I noticed in other countries, they consider each one of the states, so-called states in America, as countries.
Yeah.
This what we call states, they call countries here.
Yeah. It's the same with the same way they carved up Africa in the Berlin Conference. All of those nations, you remember when they assassinated Muammar Gaddafi, when the CIA had the people kill him, it was to stop the formation of the Organization of African Unity.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? The installment of a gold-backed currency, and to oust all of the colonizers that was stealing the wealth out of the land. That's why they got rid of Gaddafi. He wrote a book for us called The Green Book by Muammar Gaddafi, telling us how to run government, telling us how to recover the government and how to restructure everything, right? But we don't know nothing about, we think that didn't nobody try to help us. We had a whole lot of help. We the ones ain't helping us.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's us not helping us. It's not the outsiders. Right? Because we'd take sides with the outsider before we do something to help each other.
That's true. That's true.
You know, so it's us not helping us. We ain't got to worry about what nobody else gonna do because they all waiting on us to do for self so they can give us some help doing for self. But they ain't gonna help us do something that we ain't trying to do. If we not trying to reclaim this whole thing from the tip of the North Pole to the bottom of Venezuela and all of the land, and if we ain't ready to start securing it, then there's nobody gonna help us. But as soon as we start putting our best foot forward and making the necessary adjustments to rebuild government, there is no government. All of those elected officials were selected officials in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
They was appointed positions under the pretense of being elected positions. And city government is the only government where the people say cannot be denied. Because you're too close to it not to see it being when you being shysted. It's easier. Look, it's easier for me to know I stole $500 off your kitchen table than it is to know I stole it out your bank account.
True.
Right? So we want everything on the kitchen table. Put that shit out front. Right? It's ours. We ain't doing nothing but getting what's rightfully ours because it's ours, and we don't need nobody permission to get what's ours. We just need an instructional manual to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've been trying to teach for the last couple of months, is the step-by-step to being an activist or organizer, how to divide the town up, to set up the city council. This is what I've been talking about. And after I had...
Let me ask you this. Would you be willing to do some classes on our unfiltered channel so that people can just come in and you can say what you want, how you want, and we can start to organize, because we can have up to 10,000 folks.
You know you got carte blanche. You just need to let me know when you need me.
Right. I believe the people would love to be able to, be in the class and get that specific unfiltered. I call those, that's the unfiltered side. And we need to know. Folks want to know. Folks are, even I see a couple of people saying, or if you're in this area, Miami or something, let's get it. That's what we need to start seeing. You need to start yourselves putting out information so you all can connect in your areas. And then once you got groups that are connected, then the groups, we can all link up the groups. It's easier once it's a group. You might have a group with a 500, you might have one with 10, but when we start to bring them together as knowing at least how to get in contact with each other, and then we get in the same thing, then that's how we, that is the way we build. But we need to stop being fractionized or fractionized or whatever that word is. And we need to come together and stop fighting. And even when people don't understand what it is that might be saying, may not agree, but have enough concern for wanting things to be right to listen to reason. Because, everybody doesn't have it. You don't have it all. I don't have, Taj doesn't have it all. Nobody has it all, but we all got some of it. But if we bring it together, we'll have a lot more of it.
Yeah, well,
but y'all heard that. So I'm gonna schedule some sessions with you, Rod, and then like I said, I was hoping that the website would be ready because we could put the link right up on the website. But you all can just, I'll do it like I did the last one. I'll just put a YouTube video out, say the link is at the bottom of the video. There's no real video here. Here's the link. This is the date. And when you click on that, then you'll be able to come into that class. And that's what we want to do. Because if you can teach the organizing and community building and all that stuff we need to be doing, to be active and activists, that's what we need.
Yeah, well, that's another problem that we had. Like in the 60s, we had a whole lot of organizers that they still understood the tribal structures in their recent memory by watching functional families, large functional families, listening to Big Papa, listening to Big Mama, keeping the family together, keeping everybody tight knit. One of the uncles, the one that don't take no crap, is the one come in and tell the two cousins that's arguing who right and who wrong and why.
Yeah.
And we gonna put an end to it right here. Right. So now, like a lot of the young chiefs be saying, how do I build my rank, my status? I say, start making connections in your family first. You call people in your family related to you that you never had a conversation with them, and give them 10 minutes of your time just to find out something about them, because that's your family. Right? And the more family members you do that with, the more your familial rank rise, which gives you a higher rank when you enter into the community. The people can see the glow on you when your family is fully behind you. It's a glow you can't deny. Right? And the more people in your family say, this the one, then the more important you are to the world when you step out. People will tend to cater to you and you don't know why. Because you was breaking generational curses and the spirit is shining on you. You can't help it. It's the nature of breaking those generational curses. So that when you become the most loved, most respected in your family for trying to keep the family together or trying to rebuild the family, this moves your rank up spiritually in the family.
Right.
Which gives you higher rank when you hit the street. When you walk into the street, people give you respect because you got the aura of it on you. That's what they say is in you. It ain't on you, but it's on you too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when we talk about putting in work, we talk about campaigning in the family, going to spend time with family members. This is what I was doing when I was running from the police on my case. I was spending time with different family members, getting to know different parts of the family. Right? As I get to learn them, they get to learn me. I get to raise my rank in the family. Now I get to be presented to the world to say, hey, what y'all think about our chief? And then I go out, be presented to the other chiefs, and they got different tests. I got to pass them. When I get to the certain level, they say, okay, now when you say something, you speaking for me too. I trust what you're saying. So when I come tell people how to rebuild them, you have to start where you at, because the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, and the first step is where you at.
Absolutely. Like, see, my thing is different, because I'm just thinking about all of the people that don't even have any clue that they're here, that they're not African American, colored, Negro, black people, black, and
Truthfully, Dr. D, they can feel it. If they from the land talk to them, they just got a sense that they told me I was from Africa, but that don't feel right. They know. The ones who really that oblivious, they don't need to know no way. They in the way.
but there's so many people, we were, sis and I were talking yesterday about, caught up in religion and so many things that got them in a totally different, if you will, dimension. We talk about in the world and not of it. They're in their own world. Their heads are in the sand. But I always say, but your ass is in the air and you're a target and you don't know it because you don't know what you don't know and you don't want to know. Folks have a problem sometimes of learning these other things that, to me, I'll tell you in a heartbeat, what I know today and what I so-called believe today is subject to change tomorrow, because when the right information comes in that can counteract that, I let go of that old stuff. If I didn't let go of that old stuff, I'd still be, Apostle Gilliam, and I would, with my little church, I wouldn't be here in front of folks, bringing people like yourself with, and presenting Grand Chic for this information to go forward. But when new information that was valid came in, and it's true for anybody, when something, I don't care what you hold as a tenet of faith and belief, but you need to be open to receive something new or an addition, because a lot of times what we have is based on blind faith, which was given to us in order to control us. I call it mind control. So I had to get free so I could stop enslaving other people's minds with religion.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know a lot of folks still caught in that. And I'm thinking, they need their, they need something to break the spell. It's a spell.
It is. It's actually we was actually in the Kali Yuga, artificial amnesia conjure in the Feather versus Fez conflict from the Spanish ceasefire agreement, which gave us the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and it gave us the artificial corporation to be the instrument of illusions. The whole system was a complete illusion. They never had a legal leg to stand on according to their own law. According to their law, all of their attorneys and judges have titles of nobility. This is also another way that we're not under the Constitution, because it's prohibited twice in Article 1. The states can't issue titles of nobility, nor can the federal government, but all of the judges is honorables and the attorneys are esquires. These are issued by the Bar Association, and the Bar Association was first chartered in Savannah, Georgia in 1863 by King George III. Right? So when he issued the first charter, he established the legislative bodies on the land that didn't have anything to do with us and operated in the interest of the crown. Right? And the crown was operating under unum sanctums from the Pope to settle the land. They got all this stuff documented. This is not unknown information, or else I wouldn't have knew it. Mm-hmm. From reading their own paperwork. It's in their paperwork. From the most violent, bloody oath of the papacy to kill the kings, the princes, and the people of the land, to the George Washington challenge between the feathers and the fezzes, and the morals and dogma of Albert Pike, and the protocols of the wise men of Zion, which is the ones that's running the shows behind the scenes, that's having people murdered like Noble Drew Ali and Clarence 13X and Malcolm X, and then they telling us that this pale skinned enemy, right? All those are tools to divide us. When all the time, Malcolm wasn't shot by nobody pink. Clarence 13X wasn't shot by nobody pink, right? And it was a mixture of motherfuckers that shot Fred Hampton. True. They was an equal opportunity assassination. Whoever was bloodthirsty, y'all in on this one. right? But we ain't supposed to acknowledge the enemy within. That's why we can't never get over the hump. So this is why they don't know you, never had a conversation with you, and they telling the world who you is according to their opinion, as if it's valid, right? They suspect to you because you giving out free information that can be verified with the receipts, but they skeptical of you. You telling the people this is your time to shine. If you're gonna step up, step up. I'm telling you, the time is now. It's over with. The corporate entity is gone. We have to now use what they use to oppress us as the means of the come up. They gave us a blueprint for local government, and it's based on the old village system of the matriarchy. We just didn't know that the mayor was the big mama of the town. But everybody know a mayor is a female horse, and we never put the two together, right? Because it's obvious if we do that. It's so obvious that we want to know, why are there male mayors? What, they cross-dressing? What's going on with this? They changing they verbs now, they nouns, they pronouns. What's going on? How you get to be a man and a mayor? Make it make sense. That's the woman's position. Mayor Lori Lightfoot in Chicago can activate FEMA relief in Chicago to get her resources to the city of Chicago because she's one of the she's from the land. She know her tribe. She know her tribe. All she had to do is hold the press conference and tell the people, we just took this back. We don't need them no more. They can go home now. She can relieve them because she already in the position, and restructure the city council to have the people better reflected in how to dispense with resources. She in the position to do that, but you think she gonna do it? She's scared of a dead system because of the track record they have of when Harold Washington was the greatest mayors of Chicago. They poisoned him in front of everybody. And then the people sitting in the room looking around like they don't know what just happened. Oh, he had a heart attack. He just took a sip of a heart attack.
Look, see that? They messing with you again with your voice.
Yeah, so can you hear me better?
And you saw that. You saw that, and and you look at the old movies of showing up, like not the old movies, but the movies showing back in the day with the kings, like Borgia, the thing, the Borgia, the day's the last day for that on the Netflix. But drinking the wine, and the wine, the guy has an immediate heart attack drinking the wine, where they used to have people drinking and tasting or something. I mean, nothing changes. It doesn't matter. It could be another century or two, and the tactics, like you said, I believe you're using the same cookie cutter to cut the new cookie.
They got one playbook. It's the same play, but they just got like 5 or 6 of them. They play in different areas. Okay, we ran this one over here already. Let's go run this play. It's like a football game.
I say like the football. I was listening at the guy with Gematria talking about, when he always talks about murder by the numbers and the way they set up the games to who's going to win and why the Eagles were going to win because this happened and the numbers, there's significant numbers and that it's all by the numbers. Everything they do, is by, even the stuff that we're talking about is by the numbers. If you look into it, you'll be able to see patterns and numbers and significance times when certain things happen. And even if you don't see the date, if you realize how many days it was between this happening and something else of significance, they time it. Queen dies, they announce her death, so many days after the such and such, although we know that she was more than likely been gone. But when they made the announcement, another thing. So they do all this stuff, as if we are that Truman. We're Truman.
So the thing is, it's all saying in the lodge, they say Masons control everything. That's not true. Mason controls the important things.
Okay.
Right. So when you look at if you can just control the narrative of the story being told, and as long as the people follow your narrative, you Pied Piper. You lead them wherever you want them to go.
Right, right,
And
right.
then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, come an iconoclast and break all your instruments. Now the people, they might be confused for a minute, but they ain't under your spell no more.
Mhm.
And the confusion has to subside. They just can't get past the initial shock yet. That this system is over. And that everything that we do forward is about us restructuring and rebuilding government. Now, sooner or later, the chiefs that's restoring the higher government on the land, they gonna have to come out and make it be known, what's going on. But we first have to get a significant quantity of movement at the grassroots of our people being aware of who we are and what we doing. Because you can't make the move if the people don't understand it, because it'll fracture their psyche and make them like, it's traumatic. But the system, in order to keep them in control, is shock and traumatize them with planes in the buildings and controlled demolitions, mass murdering people in order to keep the people in the state of fear so they could continue to suck off the loosh, feed off
Yeah,
the negative energy. They can harness
absolutely,
that energy and use it to their benefit somewhere else,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So,
Yeah, you're right about that because the collective fear, like I was telling somebody, it's no different. Like go back to sports again. The arenas of back in the day, so-called Roman Colosseums and the gladiator fights and fighting with the lions to the death and all the people cheering and all the energy is the same thing they recreated in, sports,
yeah,
football
well,
arenas, basketball arenas, and then they suck up the energy and it's a distraction. Also, they call it America's favorite pastime.
pastime.
They don't want you thinking about the things that really matter. They don't want you working on the things that really matter. They want you caught up in, this team versus that team and this score versus that score. And all they don't realize that these things have been created to take you away from the things that matter.
So those buildings we call stadiums, coliseums, and arenas,
Loose
um,
factory.
they are energy factories, but they use to influence something called the universal mind.
Okay.
So they using the numbers, they using the energy of the people, and they using the euphoria and the depression fluctuation from winning team and losing team. All of this energy is being emitted by people like a flock of batteries.
Mhm.
Now, all they have to do, they can do a small little conjure in one of them offices while that's going on and use all of that energy to manifest their best life off your expense because you freely giving away energy.
Yep.
It's free energy
Mhm.
to manifest. You have a mass amount of people that all agree to be where you harnessing energy at the same time, and the exaltation and the eruption of emotion at sports events puts a whole lot of harnessable free energy into the atmosphere,
Yep.
right? And it's not misery energy. That's the key, because they use the misery energy for a different purpose. When you're looking for prosperity, you want to harness the euphoric energies, the elations, right? That scream and roar, what they call in wrestling, that pop of the audience, that sudden eruption. You want to be doing some kind of conjure during that time when you can harness that energy. You could
And
use it to, and they master magicians. They study the Kabbalah. Kabbalah is where they got their Babylonian money magic, Babylonian blood magic,
sex
Babylonian
magic.
sex magic. right? So when they get all of these understanding of the movement and energy, you can use a single crystal to manifest $100 million off the energy of the crowd alone. There's so many.
One thing I was getting on my cut your wisdom, but to say too, while I got 1,400 plus of y'all on here, please, whatever you do, don't get sucked into that lottery crap, because these mega thises and mega that's is only, they're trying all they can to get as much of the fiat back from people with these big fake numbers. You know what I mean? And do not participate in that. Do absolutely. People should not. I know people that are addicted to it, and they're very conscious on one hand, but don't participate in that. I guess I lost Rod for a minute, y'all. He'll be back on here. But listen, do not participate in these lotteries. I got a download that was just what they're using to actually just get the finances out of the people. So again, that's just my little piece of advice with regard to that, because every trick in the book they can use to suck the finances out of you that way, the raise prices. Rod, it was just in the news that one of the largest chicken farmers, Hillendale Farms, had 100,000 chickens, egg laying chickens died in a mysterious fire yesterday, which is just one of many fires around the country that's happening. Like
Right.
all the chicken farms are combusting. Come on now.
So all of the chiefs agreed with me. A couple years ago, 2020, I was telling them all that the GMO has to go. And all of the chiefs agreed with me. When you see those mass slaughter of farm animals, just because they GMO, they genetically modified in a laboratory, and they detrimental to the food consumption by humans. So they had to get rid of them.
They don't say GMO anymore on the products. They changed it, and I noticed the different marking. And then where you find out a lot of stuff like Jeopardy. So one of the Jeopardy questions was 3-letter words that was now changed to something else. Well, about 3-letter words. GMO is now, if you look on any food, even on like cookies, what do you call those black and white cookies? Oreos.
Oreos.
Look on the back of the pack, it doesn't say GMO, it just says contains bioengineered product. So that's
the same thing.
But they remove. So you're like, oh, it's no GMO. No, bioengineer is the new phraseology for GMO. So I read everything now. And so don't be fooled by the fact that it doesn't say GMO anymore. It says bioengineer. It still means the same thing. It still means something they made.
Right. So they have to get rid of that stuff.
Oh, so you're saying it's a thing. You're saying that's a good thing. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we don't want that shit.
No, we don't, but it just seems like there's fire.
Yeah, so when we gave an order, the rest of the chiefs agreed with me that we will not allow genetically modified foods to remain on the shelf. Like a lot of people haven't been noticing, but a lot of Walmarts has been clearing whole food sections out because of the order to remove genetically modified foods from the human food chain.
Well, you better tell them to take out bioengineered too, because that's what's on there now.
It's still the same thing. That still has to go.
Yeah.
They don't. We already know how they changed the names.
Okay.
That's an old strategy that's not working under the new regime. We not buying it. It's done. It's over with. So what these ranchers are doing is collecting the insurance on a crop that they can do nothing with. They can't do nothing with that. You can't sell the chickens no more or the eggs.
Mm-hmm.
What you gonna do with them? How you gonna recoup your losses? You can't sell them. They are no longer legal to sell according to the law of the land.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to do something with them, and he got to recoup his money some kind of way. The insurance agent probably told him burn that shit down because they still got to pay out.
Mm-hmm.
The insurance company got to pay out no matter what happened. But the insurance company can recoup if it's a fire,
Okay.
right? Because the fire codes for paying out insurance is different from the flood code or from the owning faulty product code from the FDA. So the farmer can recover more resources from the insurance company from a fire, and the insurance company can then exercise FDIC coverage in order to recoup their loss.
That's why so many things are burning up.
Yeah,
And
cattle farms, all of that.
You know what's interesting? They used to talk about, like, the first time everything was destroyed by flood, and the old folks used to talk about the fire next time.
Yeah.
So this might be it.
Well, they really talk, when they say the fire next time, what they talking about is what's known as the Promethean flame.
Oh, in the earth.
It's spiritual.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's happening now.
Okay, so it's played out in several different places under several different contexts, but they mean the same thing. So they talk about the fire of the Holy Ghost, right?
Yeah.
This is what they talking about. The Holy Ghost or Holy Soul or Ruhu Kadesh, the Holy Soul.
Ruach Okadesh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Holy Soul, right? That's the part of you that's in Philema is called your holy guardian angel, right? And you find it in mythology as the flame of Prometheus that enlightened the minds of the humans. You find it in the Greek as Lucifer's flame. Right? Lucifer is the enlightener.
Yeah.
Right? And then under the Christ story, Jesus said, when the eyes become one, the whole body is filled with light. True. It's all the same thing. And in modern spiritualism, they call it collective Christ consciousness. So the fire is the igniting of the soul. And the soul is the soul of the human, which is the eternal aspect that they forgot how to access. But now the Aquarian age is changing the frequency. And when the frequency change, it's going to cause a genetic response to those who can sink to the earth. And that's going to be the fire of the soul, the Holy Ghost. Right? It's the earth sending a radio frequency to your DNA. It's going to give you a ringing in your ear. And the ones who are not calibrated in their mitochondria to the love frequency, when it happens, it's going to tell you they hear banshees screaming. They're going to be holding their head, telling you they heard about the bus, and then they're going to drop. They ain't from here and they don't belong here. It's not personal. They might be somebody you deeply care about, but they are not what you think they are. If they can sink to the earth, that's why I was telling you earlier, those flocks of birds are just dropping out the sky.
Yeah.
Because some of them are genetically modified and they detrimental to the progress in the new age. Everything that's not going to be functional is going to be removed. It's going to be done away with. And us as humans and custodians of the planet, some of the things that the humans or the people masquerading as humans was doing to terraform the planet, we have to undo that. And we have the means and the capability in the active initiated protocols. This is why the weather is so strange, is because they clearing out chromium and aluminum and other heavy metals, soft metals that's causing us to age and decay out of the atmosphere. That's why your snow don't melt. Right? You can't melt it with fire. It got to melt with time. Because that's a time release mechanism in order to monitor the rate in which the earth absorbs the chemical. it can't melt like normal snow because
Now,
it holds all of the toxins that we clearing out of the air.
so they go from the air though, but then they go into the earth. These things.
Right. Now the earth has the means because they metals of cleansing them from the water. But it has to go through the strata of the layers, the soil, then it go through the sand layer, then it go through the gravel layer. But the main and most important layer where it's going to all get captured is the coal, the charcoal layer.
No,
right?
Where it clears it
And
out.
this is right. And all of those metals are going to concentrate at the charcoal layer. In a couple of thousand years, you will be able to mine it up as a raw mineral. And that's from all of the stuff they've been putting in the atmosphere. But the carbon in the coals is going to catch it all as it comes past. So we have to be part of the global engineering recovery program when somebody else was trying to terraform the earth for a different species to replace us.
Okay.
This is why they chopped down all our trees besides the warfare, and we was whooping their ass from the treetops.
Well, I see a lot of those pictures of mountains these days, and to me, they look, when you look at the way they look texturally, they look just like they were huge trees, trunks.
Mm-hmm.
Like big,
a lot of them were.
Yeah.
A lot of them were. They were called world trees. They were called world trees. Some of them reached the upper atmosphere, and at the top of the tree, it's froze. So it won't grow higher. It'll just freeze and break off at the top. They had people who started off with tree houses that the tree ended up growing around the house where they lived inside the trees. They had been living there that long.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when the colonizers came, those were the trees they was getting rid of with their great lumberjacks. Your Paul Bunyan stories. Right? Where they hired exceptionally strong extraterrestrials to come in and clear the land.
Wow. What do you think or know, if anything, about what's happening with what they're talking about with the Euphrates river drying up, and Euphrates is supposed to be where they have these four demons, for something chained under there for all of these years, and they've shown where the Euphrates River has just gone to
well,
nothing.
yeah, they have archaeological structures under the river. Yeah, and they didn't know they was there. Look, they know about when the Euphrates River was going to recede because it's cyclic. It's predictable and it's on a pattern.
Okay.
Right? So all they have to do is record the pattern that is going to happen again, and it looked like it's a prophecy. But all of those were laboratories to conceal certain experiments that certain so-called gods was doing on Earth. That's what those were there for. That's why they wanted them to be covered up with water, right? Because they didn't want people freely going in there until the close of the age, when we was technologically advanced enough to understand what we're looking at. It's a cloning lab. Some of the animals on the earth was made there, like your hyenas. Your lions and tigers was brought from other planets. But the hyena was made here, trying to mix a cat and a dog. The wolverine was made here, trying to mix a weasel and a bear. Right? All of these things was being, the wild dog of Africa, it's a canine just as old as any wolf. Where the hell he come from? He ain't no wolf, but he's still a canine. Right? We know that the Australians took the dingo to Australia. They was there long enough to go feral for thousands of years and be recaptured as pets later on. Now they roam free as dingoes, wild dogs in Australia. Right? All these animals is imported here. Earth was destroyed by nuclear holocaust, wiped out. Everything was restructured, re-engineered. Everything was bohu tohu, desolate and void from the aftermath of the war. That's why they had to have a bara sheaf, a reconstruction period, to bara reconstruct the earth and the sky. Right? All of this is part of the old record of the earth. It's all still there. Mm-hmm. Some of it is told as religion, some is told to us as old legends.
Yeah.
And the old legends tend to be more accurate than the written religion.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. So we can hear the legend of the great heroes of the earth, and all of the great heroes of the earth can come together under the conjure to protect the earth like a transformer forming into a giant robot. Right? This is how we protect the earth. And a lot of us don't remember, but a lot of those other tribes that's coming over here to render aid and support by showing us how to remain communal living of yourself, for yourself, and with yourself, as opposed to outsourcing everything in your community to foreigners and outsiders who's not going to protect your best interest first. Right? So when they come over here, they saying, hey, watch what we do. Remember, if you tribe up, they can't beat you. Let me show you. So the Chinese come over, show us how to tribe up in Chinatown. The pale so-called Jew come over and set up Jewtown. All of them and their brothers, cousins, uncles, and nephews own every business in the Jewtown. Right? So then the people come from Poland, they say, hey, we're going to set up little Poland over here. And little Tokyo over here. And little Haiti right here. Try to up. We showing you got the power if you concentrate it on a focus and a functional front. If you don't use your power, it's useless.
True.
So in us exercising our due diligence to start to reform government activates the universe response to assist us. Because we have the right to restore the land and the matriarchy on a matriarchal planet in order to protect the children for the next 7 generations. This is law. In the creation of the earth and the epics of the earth story. When it's properly applied, it's called balancing the scales of mind. It's called resurrecting Osiris. It's called raising the son Heru to become the father, the great father. The great father learned how to be a great father from watching the great mother. Because everything she didn't know what to do, he had to figure it out. And once he figured that out, they made a perfect team. Right? So we reenacting all of those ancient epics, the holy drama of Osir and Set and Offset. We reenacting all of those things in our day-to-day lives, but if we don't do the layover and the analysis of what our ancestors is trying to tell us, then we can't access none of these frequencies that awakens the mind from the slumber. And that's where the hologram comes into play. So now you can rely on the hologram to give you an artificial reality rather than build your own.
And do you agree that maybe people should start maybe listening? When you talked about love and frequencies a little earlier, 528 hertz is the love frequency. And one of the issues we have, I even see it in the chat. It's not as bad as it is sometimes, but it's a lack of love. We need to get on, we need to get that love frequency going so we can work together on a And I believe it. I really believe it. When you're on the same frequency, on the same wavelength, we used to say, you know you're flowing. We have a team, and I just digress for a minute. I have a team of sisters and brothers from all over this country. The coordinator of our team that's been working on our building since the end of August, right up until even today, we had people here working. But this team is a group of men and women, sisters and brothers from all over the country, and we can get in that building, the House of Reawakening Mind, and stay in there for 2 and 3 days and stuff together each time they come together. And all you see is love and cooperation. It is a frequency. It is an absolute frequency. And I do want to say, I want to give condolences. I have to say this. I want to give condolences to the coordinator for the House of Reawakening Minds Project, Sister Francesca L., whose son was murdered this morning. She just left here Sunday after having been here for 3 days. And we're apart, but all of us want her to know, and some of us are in the chat. I can see we love her. And, we want you all to, you may not know Sister Francesca L., but I want you to send as much love and vibrations of for condolences and just for strength for my sister, because this is a giving sister. She just left here Sunday, flies in from California to do work to get our building together, and coordinates the team. And but it's what I wanted to say is that love, that team, all I can see is love. And so it's a microcosm of what we can do on a larger scale. Men and women bring their talents together. We got carpenters and plumbers and electricians and builders and everything that come together. And
we used to do that.
Yes.
You ever see the Amish build
a barn raised, like they call them?
Yeah.
In a day, they'll all get together and build something that needs.
You ever seen the Jehovah's Witnesses building the Kingdom Hall?
I've not seen that, but I know they do it as a collective, and it doesn't take them long to do it.
Mm-hmm. Look, it's over here in Pontiac, about 2 miles from me. I watched them have a party, Kingdom Hall party, and raise this building from the ground up in one day. They had like 20 bricklayers.
Yeah.
They had carpenters came in first, laid the wood for the foundation outline of it. When they left, then the group came in with bricks, started loading up, putting the brick facades up. Then when they got done, group of dudes came in, laid a roof on there. Before you know it, the whole building was done. In one day, it amazed me. But the reason why I brought that up is that's how the tribes used to work together. And that's how we used to do construction work on farms. Like we would call, like all of the farmers around might come to help build a barn or build a house.
Right.
But we would build it. It was more structurally sound than the ones they building now. And we didn't take 6 months to build a house.
Yes.
But it's because the level of skill of the people that was working, we did everything with our hands anyway. We had an uncle that did nothing but the mechanic work. See, they think that cars is some new stuff, but we've been driving across this land for a long time on dirt roads. Some of them was cobblestone roads. We still got roads all over the land that we used to travel on by vehicle that was never paved in a traditional fashion, but many of them was paved with brick. Especially most of the paved roads was in townships. The towns where you would drive around in your electric vehicle. We don't know we had electric cars before. These electric cars they're making is a joke. That's a joke. They had the car set up where if you put water in the front of the radiator, The water, you had to put something like lemon juice or something, and it powered the car. That was it. It was the simple battery, a simple acid battery.
Now, one of the brothers that was killed in that supermarket shooting was kind of come up with something like
Yeah, the
water.
hydrogen energy where it runs off water.
Yeah, he just happened to be in that market where,
he ain't the first one. It's been quite a few of those guys, and all of them didn't get killed. The problem with him is he probably didn't want to give up his intellectual property for peanuts. Because he probably had a different hydrogen energy vehicle than the other ones before him, that some of them they killed, some of them they didn't. But we don't have no car running off water, so you know what they did to the ones that they didn't kill, they paid them off. Look, the scientists, what we seeing around us is not the tech that's available.
Oh, I know, that's so old based on what's really out there, what's available.
Look, because of their interaction with beings that's coming to exchange technologies for resources like metals and stones, they trade all that intergalactically. But they give them technologies in return.
Yeah.
This is how the military black budget funds all of these trillion-dollar programs, and nobody don't know where they get their money from. Right? And the black budgets, we all know, come from the money from CIA investments in the drug operation. That's already been proven. All of the major banks been caught laundering money for drug cartels. All of them. Every one of them. There's not one that was found that wasn't laundering money in large quantity. And Wall Street was the biggest money laundering operation in the history of the world because they concealed human trafficking behind trade and other stocks and bonds where you never knew that you was investing in the human trade. And they was laundering money for human trafficking to the tune of $1 trillion that was tracked over the last 50 years. The same with drug cartel money, illegal firearms, all of them in excess of $1 trillion. So they've been laundering this money for a long time, and the military intelligence just watched them until there was an operationable offense. Then they seized Wall Street. Right? So I did a video a couple years ago called the $1 Trillion Buyback Program, where we bought all of the things that they was using to steal assets from us, and so that we can have control and interest. That way we can take in charge of the corporate jurisdiction by having most of the stock, control and interest. Because they was trying to use corporate America to finance the takeover. Then they wanted to bring AI in, so the 4-bit quantum encryption has to be challenged with the God mind, and the God mind is a 19-bit quantum encryption that can't keep up. So we had to prove that the God mind was superior to run Earth than artificial intelligence. And that's what's running everything right now is AI, the rise of the machines.
So it's not coming, it's already here doing. So
that's because if you watch, they're running out of resources. So they're going to start closing police stations. They already started this, closing of the police stations, because they can't, there's nobody to fund them. They can't pay nobody. So they have to close. Some of the cities, I think it was Cleveland, already closed. Somebody got to rebuild a government. There's no government. It's slowly falling down, but we not watching as the individual pieces fall. And if we start paying attention, they murder one of us put it on the news so that they can have us all up in arms and make us forget about our takeover of what's rightfully ours. So now they can have us in the street acting like an ass so that they can say, see, I told you, they still imbeciles in law. They don't know when we told them to move and when we didn't. Reactionary individuals. You can't be reactionary. You can't move every time they put something on the news and tell you to jump. Because now you marching by their tune. But it's hard to tell people that's sick and tired as I am about how to express your sick and tired. Can't tell, it's hard. You don't feel right telling somebody how to express they sick and tired.
Sure.
Look, Divine Insight Rashad Jamal dropped the update and I'm listening to it. And I'm like, I feel every bit of what he's saying because his sick and tired, the way he expressed it, feel like the same sick and tired I am. Right? His fed up with the illusion sound like it's the same fed up with the illusion that I am. So when he talking, I can't help but relate. And then I know that it's a setup from the word go because I remote viewed the whole situation and I just blew back. Right? So they got the information they need to let the man go, but he's just sitting there. They know it was a setup. The prosecutor pulled the phone records and found the whole conspiracy laid out in the phone records. Some kind of communication by phone. They thought that shit was deleted. When they pulled the records, all that shit they thought was deleted was still in the record. But it ain't on the phone. But it's on the phone record. But they ain't say that this man did this shit when they got the whole plot, but they won't let him go.
And same thing with Brother Lamont, Lamont Marcel. I mean, and the other brothers that they have with them, and just and it's same thing with Mumia Abu Jabal. I mean, 40 years.
I was so amazed watching that trial. I couldn't believe I couldn't believe they primped their mouth up to find that man guilty when I watched that.
Mumia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A-Trap Brown.
Oh, you talking about A-Trap Brown?
Yeah. I couldn't. Well, we all know that somebody whopped me. We already know somebody whopped Mumia upside the head because he was dizzy as hell when the police got there. He didn't know what was going on. The police said that.
I believe the police did it. So,
9 out of 10 because it was them same dirty players behind the scenes anyway. Mm-hmm. The guy, remember, they was being sent. They was being sent at all of our leaders by COINTELPRO.
Yeah.
It's just like the last, I think, 10 years, they've been deliberately psychological evaluations hiring sociopaths as police officers so that they can go rogue. They did it on purpose. It ain't no accident.
Just like
they know from their psychological makeup that this person is eventually going to go rogue and going to go off script and going to hurt somebody. And they'll be able to use it in order to drive the masses where they want them to go with the protest. They know it. They don't know. They might not know the exact day, but they know sooner or later with this psychological makeup and the stress of the job of being a police officer, he's going to pop.
Yeah, he's nothing but a ticking time bomb.
Yeah. As soon as he pop, we going to pounce on it and we going to use it. Why did we know the next day that 5 black police officers beat up a black man to death, but we didn't know for weeks in some of those other cases, sometimes months.
Yeah, who it was.
That it even took place. Mm-hmm. We didn't find out about Breonna Taylor for about 6 months. We ain't know nothing about Breonna Taylor for about 6 months. All of a sudden, they was able to use it because we was starting to become aware of something. So they gonna use it. We didn't even know about George Floyd till about 2 weeks. But all of a sudden now we get the news the next day. Something don't smell right to me, Dr. G.
Yeah, yeah. It's a whole lot of. It's a lot of they say.
And then they gonna try to blame it on the mayor. She wasn't out there. I mean, the police chief.
Something in the milk ain't right. Yep.
Yeah, that just don't smell right. How she wasn't in the street when that happened?
That's right.
It just don't feel right to me. It feel like some shenanigans going on. How you gonna blame us because she a black woman chief? It's her fault that these Negroes went rogue and beat this Negro to death.
Mm-hmm.
That don't make no sense to me. Everybody in the scientific world, no, they got journals of writings from psychiatrists, psychologists, and sociologists, and they all say that when the women is in charge of people in that capacity, they show more compassion than they would under a male leader. They all know this, but they ain't show no compassion on that videotape.
No, they did not.
So there's a breakdown in communication somewhere.
No, they did not. No, they did not. But we but like you said, in what we need to know is it's a wrap. Even though we still seem to be, I what they call it, it's like a weekend, a long extended weekend at Bernie's. It's parading around as being alive and well, but the truth is dead and stinking, but still functioning to the extent that we don't know any better, that we don't know that it's time to move on and to move into our rightful positions of reforming our own government. And I say reforming because, like, the truth be told, we had
it is. We are reforming our own government, and we're replacing the government that just failed. Right. So we using local government because it's easier to get the vote block of a city to establish a new city council and mayor than it is to try to get a governor in the state. You see the difference? It's more control at the city level. FEMA is geared when the matriarchy start raising to start pumping financial resources into wherever it's movement at. Haiti's gonna get the biggest movement first, because it's where it all started at on Hispaniola. Right. So we backtracking the Haitian Revolution now back to the island in order for the war spirits to be put to rest and the return of the Oshun energy, of the love energy. That's what's coming with that's the water in the pot of the aquarium, right? It's an air sign, but he's spilling water onto the earth, right? And the water is the symbol for spirit and wisdom. So it's the wake up. It's that dash of water, cold water on your face in the morning. You ain't expect it.
Yeah. This is a divine wake up call, and I'm first of all I want to thank you, for coming on the show again, and thank you for giving me that carte blanche with you. If you're not doing nothing, you graciously agree to come on and speak to the people, and it's timely, and it's encouraging to me. And I hope that I've seen in the chat a lot of folks, putting out calls to tribe up, like you said. And if, let's get together in this area, in this zip code or this area code. And please, y'all, do it. Please do it. Don't just, I don't know how you're going to connect beyond this unless you're putting emails or something out there. But for what it's worth, connect, connect and start putting into action some of these things that you've been hearing. We'll be back, or I'll be back on Friday with Grand Chic. But this was a good, I believe, Rod, that the information you always bring, for great information, and I'm always grateful to have your input, and folks obviously love to hear you too, because normally I get about 300 folk on a Tuesday, and we got, we had upwards of over 1,500, so that's a tribute, or that speaks to you, and how many folks want to hear what you got to say. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Rod, I don't know if you have some closing stuff. I know you and I both are probably tired.
I do.
Yeah.
Just remember, the old system is gone. And this already been announced by the elders. We already understand what's going on. It's all about each one teach one. We have to make those communications in our communities, because the community got to be tight knit too, just like the families, right? All of the mothers in any given neighborhood got the same level of interest in protecting the children in that neighborhood. This is the underlining cause of action is to protect the children, because we see what they doing with they colorful groups, and they changing the pronouns to confuse the minds of the children and to confuse the gender of the child. Right? I don't care what a grown motherfucker be. Be whatever you want to as an adult, but do not push your lifestyle off on the unsuspecting child before he had an understanding of who he is as an individual. That's not fair to that child.
No.
Right? And don't nobody want nothing forced on them if they know it's being forced on them. But when you are naive as a child, then adults come along and push their lifestyles on that child. It's not fair to the child. Every child got to have an equal opportunity to be the best version of themselves in an environment of nurturing that facilitates that. And the matriarchal form of government is hardwired because the children are first under the matriarchy, and the men protect the women that's protecting the children. It's the law of nature. And the women have the first right of the earth right to reclaim the systems of government if it looks to be detrimental to the development of the children over the next 7 generations. We the elders now, it become our duty to clean this mess up for these babies so they don't have to repeat the mistakes of our forefathers. That's breaking the hell out of generational curses.
True.
Nobody didn't give us any post-traumatic slave withdrawal classes. Didn't nobody ever give us trauma recovery programs? None of that. We had to figure it out. Now, the easiest way to tell you the solution is love.
Yes, love.
And that don't mean I won't turn the motherfucker spit red, push his snot box back, get his back dirty, and swell his eyes up. Because sometimes love got to be a little tougher. Right? So in order to do the right thing, sometimes you got to chop a motherfucker in the throat. It's just the law, right? So when we understand what's taking place, the system is gone. There's no system there. It's going to slowly fall apart piece by piece until we catch it and rebuild a new system. We can wait till they get to catastrophic levels of deterioration where it's 100 times harder to put government back together, or we can catch it at the early stages of the fall and start rebuilding now. But that's our responsibility.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. I agree. 1,000%. Now's the time. Get that stuff in place, So, when it falls, have something that moves, before it crumbles, look, we in place. We move right in place. And again, If you're not sure, and you got anger and you know, if you will, confusion, just even on YouTube, look for the love frequency, 528 hertz, and begin to listen to that, because you need that vibration. We need that vibration. If we start there, that's one thing that you agree that we can do, is begin to listen to, you know, it's one thing to say love, but you want to vibrate love, and that's a totally different thing. So
Yeah.
the frequency for love is 528 hertz. You can listen to it as you go to sleep, you know, and have it getting down into your spirit. And I believe we'll begin to see a collective change. Then it'll be easier for us to work together, come together. But I'm happy for the team, that the House of Real Awakening Minds team, we already vibrating on that level, and I love it. I love what I feel when I'm
You
with
know,
that.
that's also the mitochondrial frequency.
Okay.
When the mitochondrial is putting out maximum output, it's at that frequency.
Well, that's the
That's
love.
why. That's why when you look at it, you look at one of your sisters, you say, "Ooh, girl, you in love." Her mitochondrial is on that frequency,
Okay.
and it can't help it. You have to see it. It's expressed. It's expressed in the energy. Y'all know. You know. When you see a sister in love, you know what her frequency is when you look at her. Y'all got a way the women to really know quicker than the men. Because y'all instinct ties in right with her mitochondrial. Y'all feel her when she walk in the room. And y'all start giggling together. Ooh, girl, tell me about her. Tell me about your new man, because I can see it all over your face. And she gets to telling you, girl, he cooked dinner for me, and he was rubbing my feet. We was having wine and a good conversation. He even helped me clean up behind the kids, you know.
Yeah.
You know what y'all do. And then y'all just be smiling together. You get contagious at that point.
All right.
Yeah, then you got to go tell your sister about your sister. Girl, so and so in love, girl. She was just glowing. You should have seen her. Oh, girl, I wish I was there. Everybody want that frequency, that tone, that pitch. That's when your life is on the perfect path. That's heaven on earth.
Yes. Let's all vibrate with that love frequency. Come on, y'all. I mean, it's no anger doesn't, you know, anger is aging too. It does
Yeah,
help you get
but it's useful.
in the right setting. You
Yeah.
know,
But see, that's one of the things that I had to learn, because I used to meet everything with the anger first. When Tupac told me, well, as you get done being angry, then what you gonna do?
Yeah.
So I started strategizing before I get angry, so I can control the anger and focus it where it need to be.
You know, I think I did a meme several years ago. It says, make sure you can control in calm what you create in anger. And so a lot of times, you know, the things we do in a fit of anger, we can't manage that thing. When we come down to reality, it's like, ooh, what the hell have I done? What have I done? So you got to make sure that stuff you create in that, you know, times of anger is something that in times of calm you can, okay, all right. You know?
I appreciate you having me on, Dr. G, as always. I enjoyed you so much.
I appreciate you too. And I love the fact that we can talk offline too. But sometimes some of our offline conversations, I was like, I should have had, you know, I tell you, it's like, I should have had the recorder on. We should be taping this and then playing that. But you know what, y'all? I'm just going to say this, y'all. I'm going to put the link out. I'm going to put the link out as a YouTube video. I don't want to make it a video. I'm going to make a YouTube video with a link in it. Saturday, we were all down at the house, you know, working. People were working at House of Reawakening Minds, and impromptu, Grand Sheik started talking. He had been talking and teaching in the middle of people working, and so I just picked up my cell phone and recorded him for like over an hour. He was being very, very, you know. And I'm gonna give y'all the link. Can't put it up here, but I'll provide the link so that you can come and actually look at it, because it's not on YouTube. It was one of those ones where he's a little bit. It was a bit unfiltered. But again, thank you so much. Thank you, each and every one of you. Until Friday, we'll be back at 7:30 p.m. I will, along with actually Grand Sheik, and thank you for everybody tuning in. The way you did. Appreciate you, and I appreciate you. Okay, y'all. Thank you so much.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
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 Dr. G.